Hello, Panthers, and welcome to Degrassi Schools In, a podcast where I'm going to be experiencing the entirety of Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High for the first time, all the way from schools in to schools out. I'm super excited for this episode and this guest today because they are not only my best friend in the entire world, but they are also I think, the biggest Degrassi fan in the entire world. And I think anybody who could try to argue anybody else would be crazy. Um, I'm really excited to introduce my first guest, Jocelyn the Degrassi Kid. Hey, Jocelyn.
Hello, ladies and germs. I was really eagerly waiting to say that.
I know. um, Hi, Jocelyn. I'm so
Hi.
excited to have you here. Can you talk a little bit about how we met?
I am so excited to be here. You and I have been friends for a very, very long time now. We met on Degrassi Twitter. I'm so excited to support you in your project because you were one of the first people who supported me in mine when I started doing mail out packages on my Patreon. You were the very first person that I reached out to and was like, hey, do you want to do a little collab together? And here we are, like, what, a full year later, working on your podcast now.
I'm really glad. I have loved being able to support you, and you have returned the same energy to me like tenfold. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're here. I also feel like you're also a really good first guest because you are, again, like I mentioned before, a huge Degrassi fan. If anybody's seen your room, for example, you are hoarding all of the like Degrassi merch resources in the world. So
I am.
and I'm also going to come and rob your house one day, just so you
That
know.
is totally fine. Come watch an episode with me or something first, though. That would be great. We'll watch the episode where Fiona gets robbed, and then you can steal all my stuff.
And then art can imitate life.
Exactly.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your history as a fan in general?
I do.
A fan of Degrassi?
I love being a Degrassi fan. What actually might be, I think everybody who's familiar with me knows the story of how I came out of the closet because of Fiona. So, how fun would it be if I told you how I actually learned about Degrassi Junior High and how I got into this version of the series? Would you rather hear that story?
Yeah.
Well, fun fact. Long story short, I love Degrassi because it helped me come out of the closet. But through falling in love with Degrassi, I later found out that, of course, there's this whole era that comes before it. The kids of Degrassi Street, Degrassi Junior High. And the story of how I found out about that was actually through my mom. I remember I was watching Degrassi The Next Generation, and she had walked by the TV and she was like, oh, like I've seen this show before. That's Spike. And I was like, you've watched Degrassi? And she was like, yeah, but like when I was a kid, like it was on the air when I was a kid. And I was like, no, mom, this is a brand new show that's really cool called Degrassi The Next Generation. Never once questioning why it was called The Next Generation. I was just like, okay. And then she was like, I'm going to school you, no pun intended, and bought me the box sets for Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. And I was like, oh, wow.
She said school's in.
School's in. And what's so funny is, so I was watching through the box sets, and to me, I had never heard of Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High before. And I was watching through the box sets, and I think it's the 5th episode. It's called The Great Race. You have to let me know when you get to that one. But I was watching the episode and I was like, why do I know every single thing that is going to happen in this episode? Like I knew, I won't spoil it for you, of course, but I knew the very next thing that was going to happen. And I remember how it ended because there's a pretty like a memorable moment at the very end, and there's a couple quotes in it. And I realized that I had actually watched an episode of Degrassi Junior High in my health class in grade 7. And when they wheeled it in with the TV, the VHS tape, and our teacher was like, "Here's this old educational video from the 80s about puberty and your changing bodies." And it's so funny that when it was presented to me that way by this like 30-year-old man, which at the time was astoundingly old to me,
Ew.
right? Talking about my changing and developing body, ew. When it was presented to me that way, I thought Degrassi was the stupidest thing I had ever seen. And then here I was several years later, huge fan of the show, couldn't wait to watch the original series and loved it. So that's also one of the things that makes me love Degrassi is like it's this educational program, but they do so well at not making you realize that they're teaching you lessons that it took me watching Degrassi for years before I even realized that it was intended as an educational show and how that changes your perspective of how you engage with content.
Yeah, it's very much like packaged and branded very well to not put off the audience. I feel like to put off like the kids because it's very easy to get turned off as an audience member, especially as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
if you feel like you're being lectured to and if you feel like you're being like told or taught something.
Exactly.
So I love in it's funny that like the context very much mattered. Like
A hundred
some, yeah,
percent.
your gym teacher, like, ew, like I'm not gonna listen to that. But
It was gross. It was gross. But you know what? I actually have some things that I'm curious about with you because this is your first time watching Degrassi Junior High, right?
it is, yeah. And it's funny you said you never questioned the next generation. You never thought about, I also just never thought about it.
Never.
I was just like, okay, it's a cute, quirky title. I don't know. Like I never was like, what was the previous generation? Never.
Yeah. Same with
Until
like,
like years later.
there's some things that I've also never questioned before too. Like, for example, someone had pointed out to me that Paige says, New year, new look, new Paige. But what did Paige look like before?
Yeah.
Who was Paige
Who
before
was
all
old
that?
Paige?
There's so many things I'm like, I never thought about the before of all this.
Yeah, I found myself questioning that with this episode with Steph because people were
Mm,
reacting to Steph's like change in personality and change in wardrobe and all that. And like, okay, so was she like a Vula before where she was like a bookworm and she was very like reserved, or
yeah.
is it just like a physical change and she was very much like that person? It's very, yeah, it's something to think about.
It's fun to think about, which is the fun part about having a podcast because we can ask all these questions. I'm curious though, because I know you've been a Degrassi fan for a long, long time, and it's kind of
Yeah.
strange to go this long without having seen the original. What made you want to do this project where you're like, hey, I'm gonna do a podcast where I watch it?
Well, I have wanted to do this sort of thing, some sort of like documenting my first experience of it for so long. Like I've like known about Degrassi Junior High and I've wanted to watch it probably like maybe even 10 years at this point. Obviously it's existed for
Mhm.
way longer than that, but I really enjoy like getting to hear people's first perspectives and first like predictions and all that kind of stuff. And I love Degrassi so much. I love listening to people like when I listen to a Degrassi podcast that includes a host that has never seen the show before and they make like these like wild predictions about like where the characters can go. I find that really interesting.
Mhm.
I find it really interesting to think about like because when you have seen a show, you can't visualize other possibilities. You can't like kind of stem off into all of these different other like possibilities.
Yeah.
That's I'm excited to do that with this show that so many of my friends love, so many people that I know like hold so dear to their heart. And I just
Yeah.
know nothing about it. I'm really excited to be
I'm excited for you.
so wrong and
Yeah.
learn like why everybody
I
loves it so much because I don't know.
Yeah, I get that because I know that whenever I find out someone is watching The Next Generation for the first time and they tell me that JT is their favorite character, I think we all have that feeling of like, oh, like we're excited
Exactly.
to we want to know what you think when you finally get there. And I know that this will probably come up in one of our questions, but you and I were preparing a little bit beforehand. I was telling you the things that I would be interested in asking you. And one of the things I was like, did you even know who Stephanie K was before this? And you were like, yeah, I'm so shocked because everyone acts like she's an icon, but I like have no idea who she is. And I was like, ah, I was gagged. I
I know
was like,
you were
oh my
you were
God. I was like, that's
shocked. I'm
Stephanie
like I
K.
don't know
But
who
you
that
don't
is.
know. That is so funny. I'm
That's
curious.
like somebody, yeah, to me that's like somebody being like I don't know who Paige Michael Chuck is. Like that's not like who is that? And it's
Irrelevant.
like yeah.
Oh my God.
So to me it's so I can't wait to look back and be like I can't believe I had no idea who Stephanie K was and like I didn't
Yeah.
care because I truly I had like heard the name I
Mhm.
guess. And I'd like seen
All
pictures,
the
but it
way with
didn't
Stephanie K.
click with me at all. Like she
Yeah.
didn't seem iconic to me in the same way that like Spike looks more like it's because it has the connection to the next generation. I know.
Yeah.
But I just yeah, I just it was like, okay, that's a girl, that's a lady. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that
That's
lady is.
sweet. Well, that makes
But
me really curious about what do you know? Because I know there's a lot you've missed out on a lot of you've been trying to keep yourself away from spoilers, but
yeah.
obviously through the connections to the next generation, or even just like being in the fandom, there has to be some things that you've like found out about. So I'm curious, what are things that you know about this generation going into it?
Yeah. So I mean, I know I've been on like Degrassi fandom spaces online forever, and for the most part, people don't really talk about it. And if they do, it's
Mm.
kind of more separated into their own world. So I don't usually see a lot of stuff about it. But yeah, I know like I know about Spike's pregnancy, obviously, because that's the birth of the next generation. I know I really don't know much. Like I've heard things, but I don't understand the context. I know the Spike thing is really I know that there's a suicide, but I don't really know, and I know the character's name, but I don't know anything about the character or how much he's featured or anything like that. I don't see him much, so I don't know. He could be in a million, he could be in a dozen episodes, he could be in one episode. I really don't know. And I
Mhm.
don't know when, I will say this, I don't know when things happen is the
Right.
key. I know little aspects about people like characters. I know Joey, oh yeah, here we go. I know Joey streaks. I know Joey gets with Caitlyn at some point. I know Joey fucks
Tessa
what's her name?
Campanelli.
I don't even know. Okay, there we go. See, I don't even know her name. That's
You
how.
were fucking Tessa Campanelli.
And I know Snake says that. I don't know anything that happens with like to me, I don't know anything that happens with Snake. I know he has some sort of romance and that it's not Spike because it doesn't happen that doesn't happen until the next generation. I
Interesting. Interesting.
honestly think that might be it.
I'm excited for this all to build up to you were fucking Tessa Campanelli. I'm excited for you to like earnestly
I
take that
don't even
moment
know
in
who
for the
that
first
is.
time. I don't even know who that is. You're so funny. I'm so
I see
excited for
pictures
this.
of her. I really don't know who she is.
She's iconic. I've
So,
met her. She's very, very
and I don't know
nice.
when she comes in. I don't. So I'm excited and I'm trying to keep spoiler free. I don't even really want to know like when a character joins, when a character leaves. I'm going to really
Yeah.
try to keep off of that because I want to be spoiler free as much as I know
Yeah.
it's a show that aired decades ago. So I know that spoilers are bound to happen, but I just try to block them out.
No, definitely, definitely. You've even to the point like actively not listened to some of my podcast episodes, haven't you, to avoid spoilers?
Yep.
That's crazy, and you're my number one fan.
I listen to
And
all of your
what I'm excited,
podcasts. Yeah. And not those ones
you listen
though.
to everything I could ever do. Yeah, not those ones. Well, I am also excited because you already have another fan and someone who's really excited about your podcast, which is Linda Schuyler. We had a Q&A with Linda Schuyler where she came and talked to everybody at my book club, and of course, because Eevee's my number one fan, Eevee was at that book club. And
Of
when
course.
I was introducing Eevee, I told Linda about how she has a podcast called Degrassi Schools In, going from Degrassi Schools In to Degrassi Schools Out, baby. And Linda Schuyler wrote down the name of your podcast and was very, very excited about it. So you got a fan in me and you got a fan in Linda Schuyler. What more could you ask for?
That's literally all I need. Anybody else, you can turn the podcast off now. I don't need your listens. Linda and Jocelyn support me. Actually, don't turn it off, please. Please stream. But no, that was still so surreal to me being able to meet Linda and talk to her one on one. She is so kind and giving. She doesn't owe us all of that, but she
She's incredible.
did it and it's amazing. She's so meeting her like exceeded my expectations. And I'm really thankful for that opportunity. And yeah, I'm still obsessed. She wrote my podcast name down.
She wrote your
That is
podcast
crazy to
down.
me. There's a
Isn't that
little
cool?
piece of paper somewhere in Linda Schuyler's possession that has my podcast name on
That
it.
says Degrassi Schools In. For
That's a
context about
flex.
how nice Linda Schuyler is, I'd love to share the story that she emailed me out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, I remember a bunch of people from your book club were from Texas. If they want to come hang out with me for a coffee, like let them know this is where I'll be and they can come get their book signed." And I was like, "Okay." So I've been messaging people all morning being like, "Do you want to meet Linda Schuyler?" And everybody's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's just that nice. She's just like, "Yeah, I'll be here if you want to come for a coffee."
I'm also moving to Texas now in November
Right?
just for that.
I'm like, I'll go on a
Like
plane. I don't love the idea of traveling to America. Knowing that Linda Schuyler's in Texas and wants to go meet Degrassi with, I'm like, get me over there. I've met her like 100 times now, but I'm like, oh,
yeah,
get me over there. I want to go to Texas.
I'm literally on the other side of the country and I'm like, okay, you know what? How much is a plane ticket? I can do it
Exactly.
for a little coffee date with Linda.
Exactly.
Get her to
So,
sign my Mother of All Degrassi book.
right, right. I already have one of those. I'm in the book. We'll talk about that another day.
Subtle brag.
Whenever you read the book and talk about your podcast, we'll interview me about it. I was wondering if I could go ahead and read the episode description for this week. This is the episode description for Kiss Me Steph, the first episode of Degrassi Junior High. Returning to Degrassi Junior High with a new image, Stephanie K decides to run for school president with the help of her best friend Vula. However, Stephanie's new image becomes a major part of her campaign as the boys at school promise to vote for Steph in exchange for kisses. She wins the election, but when she thanks Joey Jeremiah for his help with the campaign instead of Vula, Vula is furious and breaks off their friendship. Meanwhile, Stephanie's younger brother, Arthur, who she has ordered not to talk to her at school, is adjusting to life at junior high, avoiding Joey's bullying and making friends with a fellow student, Yik Yu.
Awesome. Thank you, Jocelyn. Did you have any fun spoiler-free facts or history about this episode that you wanted to share?
If you let me go on and on and on and on, I could tell you 100,000 facts. But one of the facts that I wanted to share with you is because I know you went to film school as well, so you'll think these facts are interesting. But I actually got to read through the show Bible for Degrassi Junior High. And as you know, that's like kind of the rules of the show, things, the way that all the writers can read and they get on the same page and understand the intention of the show, what they're going for. And this episode is used heavily as a reference because it was the first episode, and they based a lot of their Bible on how they would recreate episodes just like this one. One of the rules that they have in there is that the Degrassi kids can go one step beyond reality. So kids in real life might wish they weren't related to their little brother. They might wish that he didn't go to the same school as them, but ultimately he does, and you can't really hide it. But the kids on Degrassi can go one step further. So Stephanie K can go a full year or two with pretending that she's not related to Arthur. But ultimately, in the end, it will still get to that point. Oh no, that's a spoiler. Sorry.
I know, spoiler.
Sorry. So the kids in Degrassi can go one step beyond reality, but it's still true to their character. So I thought it was really interesting when I was watching this episode that this was kind of the baseline that they use as a reference, that the Degrassi kids can extend their disbelief a little bit, but ultimately not too far that most over-dramatized show might go into.
I love that. And I would absolutely love to read that Bible. Like getting my hands on that would be a dream.
I thought you would like that because I know that you went to film school and one of your dreams was actually to become a writer for Degrassi. So now you know if you ever become a writer for Degrassi, there's one of the tools for you. The kids can go one step beyond reality, but not too far.
Yeah, I would love to look at that show Bible and see all of the different like rules that they have, because I know you've talked about some of the rules on your podcast before and just in general about like how they don't have adults talking on screen without a child like overhearing or being involved, because the show is meant to be from a child's perspective and focusing on children. I know that's a rule that they break in Next Generation.
But they mostly only break it for the Degrassi kids, right? The ones who were Degrassi kids. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I would love to know more of those little like universe rules that exist, because Degrassi is definitely not like, and I know that Linda and all the other like people who went like put work into creating the show were very like specific and didn't just want to produce just a whatever teen drama, not shitting on teen dramas, just, but that wasn't their goal. They really had a lot of intention in what they wanted to create. So
yeah,
I really want that series Bible. I want to get my hands on that. Did you have any other fun facts about this episode?
One of the things that I think makes Degrassi so different is, as you know, it was made by a school teacher, and Linda would use examples from her real life and put them in the show because, I mean, she spent like all day with teenagers when she was teaching in junior high school. So one of the reasons why I love this episode is, as you know, in one of the opening scenes or one of the first scenes, Stephanie walks into the bathroom in this kind of like oversized outfit. She gets undressed, does her shirt up in a crop top, and she completely changes her image from when she's at school. And that storyline actually came from Linda Schuyler's real life. In the memoir, The Mother of All Degrassi, she talks about this Greek student she had named Fofo. And basically, Linda used to do film projects with her students, and Fofo would always wear a jacket. And Linda was like, "Why are you doing that? Like, you don't have to wear a jacket. Like, you can just wear your regular clothes." And she was like, "No, no, 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 no. Like, I want to keep it on." And that's when Linda realized that because the parents would be watching the videos that they were making in class, she didn't want her parents to know what she was actually wearing to school because she dressed more like Stephanie K.
Oh.
So because Linda was a real life school teacher, she was able to put those stories in. And we see those stories again. That happens later. Manny wears an oversized sweater to school. Then she undresses. She has her blue bedazzled thong moment. Allie later has the same thing where she undresses in the bathroom. And that all started because the creator of Degrassi was a real school teacher who worked with real kids in these real scenarios. So that's my second fun fact to share with you, that Stephanie K is inspired by one of Linda Schuyler's real life students.
I love that fact. That's super interesting. I wanted to ask you a question based off of that.
Yeah.
Did you ever like change out or change your appearance at all when you went to school in the same way that Stephanie and Manny and Allie did?
Ooh,
Or did you wear what you wore and like were you hiding anything?
good question. I definitely wasn't hiding. I probably maybe should have been a little bit more key. I was goth in junior high school, like wear my eyeliner down my face instead of across my face. I think I probably should have done a little bit more work in having a different identity. But no, I was very goth, and then I was goth, and then I was emo, and I was very, very proud of it. And like I used to wear I used to wear these gloves that had like cut off the fingers and they had safety pins in them. Like I wish I was a little more
Do you
low
have
key about the way I
pictures?
dressed. Luckily, because the internet hadn't progressed quite enough yet that your digital footprint was around back then, I don't. They were on my
No.
Pixo page, and Pixo, I think, is completely obliterated as a website. So,
I have never heard of that.
yeah, that's how that I'm thankful that my digital footprint doesn't start until I was in like high school.
I wiped my digital footprint from before like 2014 or 2015 for the most part. And I'm kind of sad about
Mm.
it because I really want old, embarrassing pictures, but it's probably for the best.
Definitely for the best.
Um, definitely for the best. Okay, so let's go ahead and start at the beginning of the episode, which we start off with Arthur and Steph
Hmm.
outside of the school. And Arthur is trying to talk to Steph, and Steph does not want anything to do with him, doesn't want to acknowledge that they even know each other.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's so funny because she's like, "You're grade 7. It's a like it's a year difference," and she's acting like you're like a second class that you don't talk to me.
Hmm.
And I just think that's so funny. And Arthur is, I feel so bad because Arthur is just the cutest little baby and he doesn't deserve, he's so pure. And so he's just, I do not, I also hate that. I love Joey is a sweet, like whatever, Joey, I'm sure I will love him, but right now I'm not a fan of him because the way that he's bullying
Mm.
sweet baby Arthur. I was not expecting Joey to be a bully, by the way.
Mm.
I knew that he was a little I don't even know how to describe what I thought he was based on his like reputation,
Yeah.
but I definitely wasn't expecting him to be a bully. And
Yeah.
shove somebody into a closet and call them a broomhead,
And call them a broomhead. I
which
have actually a fun fact to share with you about why did they use the term broomhead? Like where did that come from? Would you want to hear my fun fact about it?
I would love to hear that because I was wondering. I figured that there was an origin to it, but I obviously don't know it. So
Yeah. Glad to share. Love a good little fun fact. So, whenever they were writing Degrassi, they had a couple thoughts in mind. The kids do curse, but they can't curse on TV. So, they need to come up with these words and insults that are TV friendly that a kid might still use. So, then when they were brainstorming it, they had a couple things in mind. The kids can't curse. They also wanted, it's funny to look back now because the show is so 80s, but they also wanted the show to stay timeless. So, they had to think of insults that weren't reflective of 1987. I don't even know what the insults were at the time of 1987. Um, but they wanted to make sure that if you were watching this episode 5 years from now, that it would still be timeless. Or if you were watching the episode in Australia, or if you're watching the episode in America, like it wasn't rooted in just like Canadian 80s culture, which is also why they, for example, make up different band names throughout the show. They don't usually actually reference pop culture. They'll make up a band name, they'll make up a company, they'll make up these things. But so they were brainstorming. Yan, more specifically, one of the writers was brainstorming about what the insult will be. And they opened up a phone book and they were just going through names in the phone book, seeing if there's any words that stuck out. And there was a woman who had the last name Broomhead. And they decided that was perfect. I mean, Arthur's getting shoved in a closet. It's such a classic insult that a junior high school student would use to just call you a broomhead. And it stuck so much. You'll even, for the Next Generation fans, Mr. Simpson gives out a quiz, an online quiz, and the password that he makes them put in is broomhead. And
broomhead.
now you know where that comes from, all the way in the first episode of Degrassi Junior High.
I did not know any of that. Yeah, I knew that it was obviously unique to the show, but I had no idea the history of that. When you
Yeah.
said that they were trying to come up with something timeless, I'm like, okay, so they were like, all right, what's timeless? What like brooms? I was until you were about to bring up the phone book,
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
Okay, that's a little.
Brooms are forever.
They're like,
Roomba head.
you know what everybody loves. Yeah, exactly. They're like brooms, timeless. Not they're not going anywhere.
Everybody loves something, and it's brooms.
Is it?
That's what the song was about.
That is actually what the song is about.
Literally brooms.
Speaking of songs and music and the Zit remedy or the lack of Zit remedy, I guess at this point, Snake is in this episode and he sings a little song, but he's not accompanied by Joey or Wheels, which I know. I guess
Oh,
that's something that I didn't mention that I do know. I know that the Zit remedy exists and that
of
that's who's
course.
in it. But Joey, Snake, and Wheels did not interact at all in this episode. Joey and Snake,
Mhm.
or sorry, Joey and Wheels were not voting for Snake. They were not even like paying attention to his performance at all. So I'm really curious to know if this I don't know if I want to know. I guess I do want to know if you know this. If the Zit remedy as a concept was already formed at this point, or if that's something that they wrote in later. Is that a spoiler?
I'm trying to know how to answer without spoiling you on anything. But ultimately, so
Okay, if it's a spoiler, okay, go
yeah, I
ahead.
don't want to talk. I wanted you to just watch the Zit Remedy get formed. But I guess if you're asking more about the behind the scenes,
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
I can't say I know for sure when they came up with the Zit Remedy, but I do know that when Stefan auditioned, they were specifically asking him about if he could play the guitar, if he could play any instrument. But I don't know if that's just because of this one specific scene or because they had that intention later on.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious because they had no indication that they were friends. And also, I noticed there was another boy with Joey in the
Mm-hmm.
hallway. Um, that was not somebody who was that? I don't, he was with, it wasn't Wheels. It was in the, I wrote it
Oh, you
down.
must be talking about Hank. It's very interesting to watch from the very beginning because I will say, like, the I hope this isn't a spoiler, but the way Degrassi Junior High is right now, the dynamics and all those things that you're noticing, like Joey's a bully and different relationships, isn't necessarily consistent with what's even going to happen throughout the rest of the season. I will say it's definitely very clear. Keep in mind this is a show being made by people who've never made a show before, and I think with any pilot episode, you're going to have characters who are their archetypes and then they kind of become more humanized and different. So Joey being a bully, for example, I think we ultimately, I don't think this is a spoiler to say this, but we ultimately learn, why is Joey being a bully? If is he softer on the inside? What makes him feel like he has to behave this way? So I think definitely the first episode's an interesting place because it goes a lot different from here.
Yeah, I mean, for example, like Spinner and Jimmy were being bullies early on, like
Mm-hmm.
towards Toby and JT. You really kind of have to build like those strong impressions with a character, and then they kind
Yeah.
of figure out what works and what doesn't and what they're gonna do. So yeah, I
Exactly.
definitely think judging based on the pilot is not um gonna reflect the rest of the show. But it did shock me how Joey was not a nice boy. Like I really,
Yeah.
based on what I just was not expecting him to basically be the main antagonist. Like
Oh,
obviously he's not like
interesting.
actually he's just shoving somebody. He's not like dangerous, but in the grand scheme of things, I would say he's the main antagonist of this episode. Like he's
Yeah.
the biggest threat, even if the biggest threat is just being shoved into a closet. That's
Still the threat.
real.
I
That
love that
happened.
his code name is Gorgle.
What?
They give him the code name Gorgle, Arthur and Yick.
Oh, when they're doing the
Yeah. Which is also an interesting
oh,
fact. I have an interesting fact for you because
what is
so I know that because you're an American, you're watching the PBS version of Degrassi, which is the episodes are about like somewhere between 27 and 30 minutes, whereas the Canadian episodes are only 22 minutes. And that's an example of something that made it into the American episode that isn't in the Canadian episode. So I didn't know that Arthur ever codenamed Joey as Gorgle until I read your full length version. And in mine, they had to cut that out and use ADR because it made no sense to randomly call Joey Gorgle out of nowhere because we didn't have that scene. So the American episodes were longer because they couldn't air commercials during the episodes because they were classified as educational and you just couldn't do that in America. So in Canada, they would take that full length episode and trim little tiny scenes out. Like, for example, Arthur being like, Gorgle's around the corner, Gorgle's in zone B or whatever.
I have a question and I'm going to curse for the first time on this episode. What the fuck is a
Fuck.
gorgle?
I don't know. That's why I'm like,
What is a gorgle?
they must have went through the phone book,
What
the Degrassi phone book. Give me that phone book.
Yeah.
I will say, I know that this won't make any sense to you now because you haven't met these people, but they do. A fun fact for anybody who loves Degrassi and has seen this is whenever they're in Miss Avery's class, they'll notice that they call out someone named Stacy Farrell, and one of the twins, you know that there's twins on the show, raises her hand and says, "Here." Neither of those twins are named Stacy, so they changed that character's name after that episode. Don't know why, but probably because they had Stacey Mistician who played Caitlin. But those are fun little Easter eggs that I like to watch for as a super fan. Is like, oh, why did they call that? Why call her Stacy? Her name's not Stacy.
No, I love little Easter eggs like that. Well, speaking of characters changing names, I know mostly from your content, honestly, that some of the characters from Degrassi Junior High were transplanted from an actual earlier iteration of Degrassi, which was Kids of Degrassi Street. That was, let's see, I want to see if I know which actors actually were transferred over. I know Stacy Mistician, Caitlin. Snake wasn't in there, right? No, he was not. It was Wheels, which is Neil Hope. Joey Jeremiah was not on Kids of Degrassi Street, or not Joey Jeremiah. Pat Mastroianni. So it was Caitlin, Wheels, Susie.
Yes, Susie was on the original.
I think those would be the people that I guess that I know like from this episode, and I know Susie was in this episode briefly.
Yes. Nancy was also in this episode, but she didn't have any speaking roles, so you wouldn't know her yet. But she is, and same with what some of the boys who are kissing Stephanie were also in the original as well. But that's what I think. Like these are the experiences that I wish I could have and like go back in time, because I can't imagine how cool it would be. You were a fan of the Kids of Degrassi Street. It ran for 7 years. The Kids of Degrassi Street was on for 7 years, and then to watch Degrassi Junior High and you're looking in the background and you're like, oh, that's that character from Degrassi Elementary. That's that character. That's that character. I would think that is so freaking cool, especially before the internet, where you're like Googling, you're pulling up your IMDb. You're like, is that who I think it is? I think that would be a really cool experience.
Oh, that is really cool.
Which is why I'm excited for you to have some guests on that loved the Kids of Degrassi Street, because I want to hear their experiences of what it was like to make that transition of watching this show. Like, how cool.
I do have someone who likes Kids of Degrassi Street that I am excited to hopefully talk to, that is penciled in for an episode, so I'm really excited for that. I'm kind of sad that I didn't start with Kids of Degrassi Street, but I feel like Degrassi Junior High is a really good place to start.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I feel like I can go back to Kids of Degrassi Street later, maybe after school's out. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like that would be, I definitely want to watch Kids of Degrassi Street, but I want to focus on Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High first.
It's funner to go back once you have the full context. I like the way that you're doing it and working backwards. It's way more interesting. For sure.
It's like how people watch like the Star Wars movies in different orders. People have like the preferences of how you watch, like, oh no, you got to watch Kids of Degrassi Street first, and then you got to watch Degrassi Junior High. I just imagine people being really passionate about that. That's so you're telling me though that you think Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, Kids of Degrassi Street. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, start with Next Generation, watch it all the way through, then go back to Junior High, then go back to the beginning. I would even say Next Generation all the way through, maybe go back and rewatch some of the early seasons so you can get a feel again for like Simpson and Joey, then go to the original, then go to Kids of Degrassi Street.
Okay. All right, so that is Jocelyn's, that is the Degrassi Kids official Degrassi watching guide.
I love that.
If you watch it any other way, you are wrong, and you
will
be...
No. That is not the Degrassi Kid way. Degrassi Kid never makes someone feel like they're making a bad decision. You can though. You can take that on your brand.
You can do it however you want, but
that's just a recommended viewing guide.
Yeah, Jocelyn's recommendation is probably the best because Jocelyn knows best.
See, I like that. I'll take a compliment.
Especially when it comes to Degrassi. I will give you a compliment.
Oh, can I actually share one Kids of Degrassi Street fact?
Absolutely. No, you can't.
Oh, okay.
No, go.
At the very end of this episode, you'll remember Stephanie's telling Arthur that she needs help with her speeches. And Arthur says, I can help you. I was voted, or I can help you. Miss Gonzalez says I was the best speechwriter in grade 6. Miss Gonzalez was the name of the elementary school teacher in Degrassi, Kids of Degrassi Street.
That is
so that's a cute little throwback.
Arthur, he wasn't in Kids of Degrassi Street, right?
He wasn't in it. He wasn't in it. No, but
it's just an Easter egg for like
a little Easter egg.
What the teacher for the school that they would have gone to. That's so cute. I love that. That's a cute little detail.
That's like if we had a reboot and someone was like, "Oh, Mr. Radich said," or "Mr. Simpson said." Like, just so cute.
I love that. I hope in whatever eventual reboot happens that whoever they have writing it really knows the show and puts in those little Easter eggs because I feel like that is necessary to be able to.
That's what makes it
That is
fun.
key. Yeah, that's. I feel like that. No, but that's also just key to the Degrassi brand. I think is referencing previous iterations of the show.
I
So
agree. I
if they
totally
just
agree.
have a new Degrassi that just doesn't mention or reference past stuff at all, it'd be like this isn't Degrassi.
That'd be so
Um,
silly.
it would be very silly.
I don't even have anything else to say. Just like that's silly. Don't do that.
Just yeah, just using the Degrassi name. Just no, it has to
Be
be
weird.
Degrassi through and through.
Yeah. I don't know when we're gonna talk about gay stuff, but I would love to talk about
We
it.
can talk about gay stuff now. That's my favorite topic of conversation.
I love gay people.
I also love gay people.
I just know one of my favorite things about you, and because I was helping you kind of navigate like who is Eevee in the Degrassi fandom. And one of my favorite things is that you love to contextualize Degrassi through a queer lens and look at how they like the whole history of Degrassi's queer storytelling with Bruce Mackey. And I love that you have that kind of outlook when you watch Degrassi of looking for those queer tropes. So I would love to just talk about your perception of who do you think is gay? Who has the gay queer vibes?
Yeah. I yeah, that's like one of the easiest questions to me because I immediately just whenever I watch media, I'm like sniffing out like who I like can project myself onto and who I can like
Mhm.
identify queer story because that's what's very relatable and important to me in
Mhm.
media. It makes me feel represented, it makes me feel seen. So I'm just gonna say this. Vula is not straight. That girl has some feelings that she's working out. That's just my personal opinion as someone who struggled with their sexuality in or struggled with like complicated feelings for like my best friends, for example,
Yeah.
um, in middle school. I saw a lot of that in Vula, in the way that Vula was acting, in the way that Vula saw Steph, in the way that Vula reacted.
Are there any specific moments that stood out to you?
Well, I think the gayest possible line was when they're in the staircase and
Mm-hmm.
Steph, boys like that sort of things. So do girls.
So do girls. So do
That's
best friends.
that's a lesbian.
Gay. That's what I wrote. I literally wrote, so
So
do girls, so do best friends gay in my notes. That was my
like
gayest moment.
throwing the bracelet down, that is so dramatic. That is
So lesbian. And I mean, for me, the first thing that stands out is in the bathroom when Stephanie K is dressing, up or down, whoever you want to call it, and she's getting her lady bits out, and Vula is a wooga at Stephanie K.
yeah,
She's like,
Vula
I,
is
yeah,
looking respectfully.
yeah. And the way she's seeking
Very much so.
validation, and whenever Stephanie thanks Joey instead of her, the validation she was seeking, she just wanted
Yeah.
her girlfriend to be like, I love you. So do girls. So do best
Her
friends.
face when Joey starts kissing Steph,
She's like, I'd vote for you.
she's so sad. One more also, her little the signs that she made for Steph were so
That's
cute. They
fine.
had little hearts on them. Like I
I ship them.
that's a crush.
I definitely think Vula is a queer coded character. And I'm interested to see that's like one of the things I'm most interested in is your predictions, of course, and how you think things are going to work out,
Yeah.
but also seeing it through a queer lens. Because I think that is such an interesting way to view Degrassi and also why I love Degrassi because it helped me come out.
Yeah.
I have to pick my queer character of this episode, which is LD. LD is in the class. She's got this
Yes.
freaking plaid shirt on. She's got a trucker hat on. Steph's like, "What'd you get up to this weekend?" And she's like, "My dad let me work on an '89 Chevy." I'm like, "Okay, this is the gayest person I've ever seen. You can't tell me that LD is not gay. You can't. You can't. My dad let me work on an '89 Chevy."
No, that yeah. I immediately was like, okay, that's the like uh I have no other words. That is a butch lesbian, and I love that for her.
Yeah.
She knows who
My
she
dad let me
is,
work
and
on an
she
'89
loves
Chevy. I love that line so much.
one more character that gave me queer energy who didn't speak, unfortunately, and I'm really hoping that she does in the future. Uh, the girl, and I asked you what this character's name was, and you said her name was Annie, right? The girl with
Annie
the makeup.
and like the red
She
beret.
was one of Caitlin's friends, and she
Yes.
Yes. That is a queer feminist if I've ever seen one.
There's an episode later called Rumor Has It, where whenever you get to that episode, text me and I'll tell you some fun facts you can share on that or after you watch it. But yeah, she was essentially supposed to be basically like the Caitlin Ryan of that era. And I don't know if they just changed Caitlin's name to Annie, but ultimately the character named Annie was meant to like be one of the main characters. And then they either changed her name or they just like toned her down or something. But yeah, she was meant to be a big feminist in the series. Her character was originally supposed to be gay.
That character, that actress?
Yes.
So they just didn't end up exploring that, and she didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
So I don't know if they transferred.
I'm okay with that spoiler.
Yeah, because it's like the spoiler is that she doesn't really do anything. But I don't know if they then just took her storylines and just gave them to Caitlin, or like why the decision was made. But when I was reading the original planning documents for Degrassi Junior High, she was supposed to have this huge storylines throughout the first season, and they ultimately kind of went to Caitlin.
Where did you see those?
At the University of Toronto Archives, which you and I are going to in November, where I will show you all the things that I learned. Yeah.
I'm so excited to look at those.
I am excited too. Eevee and I have been exploring this partnership together where she's going to come with me to the archives. I have some stuff that I want her to go through and take notes, and we'll work together on some projects. And even bigger, the project that we're working on now is called the Degrassi Kid Network. Are you excited to be on the Degrassi Kid Network with me?
I'm very excited to be on the Degrassi Kid Network, and I'm excited to kind of like pilot this program with you.
Me too. Basically, every time someone listens to this episode, they're going to get first listen on the Degrassi Kid Patreon before it gets uploaded publicly. And we also, you know what, came up with some event ideas that I kind of wish I did with my podcast, but too late now, so I'm going to give them to you, baby.
I appreciate you giving me your hand-me-down ideas. I'm glad to like stand under you and take all of your overflow because you are a genius, and I love all of your ideas, and I love collaborating with you.
You're like my own little personal diva cup. I'm just joking. You can cut that out.
I'm keeping that in.
Some people are gonna be like, "What's diva cup?"
Okay.
Okay.
Do we want to say anything else about the partner program or the network program about that?
Ultimately, my intention with the Degrassi Kid Network is basically I have all of these resources and I have all of these experiments that I've done in the community to learn what works and what can make you more public amongst the Degrassi fandom. And I just want to I want to take that information. I want to be like the drag mother of the Degrassi fandom. You know, I want to be like, hey guys, I can help you start a podcast. I can help you with your Etsy. I can help you with this. Like I can find Degrassi fans who love the stuff that you make. So that's how I came up with the idea for the Degrassi Kid Network. And since Eevee and I have such a close relationship already and working together, she's helping me pilot it and seeing what it looks like so we can work out all the ins and outs. And then hopefully it's something we can roll out on a more wider scale with other people who just need help in getting their content launched and created.
Absolutely. And Jocelyn is like an amazing resource, like so supportive and so helpful, and has a lot of great resources in general. So I'm really thankful for being able to work with them, and I'm really thankful to be able to share and help other people. Like I'm excited for Jocelyn to be able to help other people in this similar way, because the help that they've provided me has been instrumental in me getting this project off the ground and continuing to do it. So
I love that.
I'm excited for other people to get that experience and receive that help.
I'm excited too. And it's interesting because there's so many people in the fandom who each have like things that they want to do or things that they want to create. And the thing is they just don't have the people to share it with. And I'm like, well, how about I get all of you together, and then whatever we want to make and do and celebrate and have fun with, we can just do it all together. So it's been working out really well. I mean, the Degrassi Kid Discord has been a big inspiration for that, because I've been watching people consumed my content and then would message me and be like, oh, I've like never met another Degrassi fan. I want to talk to you. And I love that. But it was such a singular experience that I'm the only person you're engaging with, or maybe a few people in the fandom. So it was really nice to make the Discord and watch people that I was friends with become friends with each other just on the basis of being Degrassi fans. Like, I think that is so freaking cute. And I'm so excited that Discord is then going to lead to you having more guests on your project who can help you, and people who want to be on a podcast or people who want to start their own podcast. You guys can make all these partnerships that I was making, but with each other.
No, and I think the Degrassi Kid Discord has been like such a valuable resource as well, because you get to network with fellow Degrassi fans, you get to know like fellow Degrassi creators a lot better. Like, for example, I listen to a lot of Degrassi podcasts, but a lot of the time you don't really end up feeling that connected with the hosts because you don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
That changed with Jocelyn, obviously, but now because I've gotten this community where I've gotten to get to know the host of, like, for example, another podcast that we love, New Year New Look New Podcast. They
New
are
Look, New
in the Discord and they're in the
Podcast.
community. Yeah, they're in the Discord, they're in the community. We have gotten to know them really well, and that makes listening to their podcast a much more enjoyable experience because I know them. Like, I know I get to
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, I get to interact with them, I get to know them
They're our buddies.
outside of this, like, these episodes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to getting to support more fan projects by people that Jocelyn is going to bring in and Jocelyn's going to talk to. I'm excited
Yeah.
to, yeah, I'm just really excited for this. There are so many cool, creative people in the fandom that just don't get an opportunity to really share it with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think making that path easier is nothing but an amazing idea.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me pilot. And that also reminds me, did we have questions come in on Discord? I think we had someone submit a question for us. Did we?
I did. I posted on the Discord just to kind of get any feedback if anybody had anything about the episode. And we heard from Sierra, who is a
Who?
great supporter of Jocelyn and me, and all of, like, they are just an amazing, supportive,
Mm-hmm.
creative person who is, like, always there, always leaving a nice comment, always leaving feedback.
Absolutely.
And they wanted us to talk a little bit about, in the episode, a possible parallel to
Mm.
the next generation, which was between Steph and Arthur and Ashley and Toby, which I can definitely see some similarities in their situations. And I feel like that was, yeah, when they were creating Ashley and Toby, I'm sure that they were pulling some inspiration from Steph and Arthur's dynamic and storyline. I'm curious to see, because I feel like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit when it came to
Mm-hmm.
Ashley and Toby's step sibling plot line. Like, they brought it up, and then if you didn't know that they were step
I
siblings,
feel like after the school shooting, it was like not even a thing anymore.
yeah, no, like, that's, they really, if you didn't know that they were step siblings, you wouldn't know because they really don't bring it up. They barely interact at all.
No.
Um, they interact, like, through Jimmy, for example, but other than that, it's not like we really get to see their home life a lot. So I'm curious if we get to see that with Steph and Arthur. I don't want
Oh,
spoilers,
interesting. Mm-hmm.
but that's
No
something that I
spoilers.
think about. If they, no spoilers. I mean, you kind of spoiled me a little bit about something earlier with
Oopsie.
Steph and Arthur, but that's okay. I still don't know how it happens or when it happens or anything like that. You weren't like, all right, so in this episode, this happens. And I appreciate
At
that.
3 minutes and 42
Um,
seconds, Arthur gets hit by a car.
exactly. But
Oh, whoops. No, I'm just joking.
um,
I think this is a great question from Sierra. And one thing I'm really excited for is for you to notice these parallels, because I also think there's a very big parallel between Toby and JT and Arthur and Yick as well. So a similar,
yes.
expanding on this. And there's one episode in particular that I think I'll have to, of course, wait for when you get to it. But I think it's literally just they remake the episode with JT and Toby several years later. So it's so interesting. I think this is, for me, I always say that Degrassi is a time capsule of the teenage experience, because teen issues don't change, but the world in which they happen is constantly evolving. So teen issues
Yeah.
don't change
The
if you're trying to be
context
popular in high
changes.
school. Yeah, you might kids go through their parents getting divorced, kids go through experimenting with drugs, kids go through exploring their sexualities, and it just changes on, if it happens in the 80s, it might be socially different than if it happens in 2023, but ultimately the issues are still the same. And I think the fact that Degrassi can literally take the exact same storylines and tell them in 1980 and tell them in 2001 or 2021 just goes to show you how good they are at telling teen stories authentically, because literally you will see the exact same storylines repeated, but it's so reflective of the world that's happening at the time that it feels like a whole different show. So I'm excited for you to continue to explore those parallels. I did have a question for you, though.
I think I have an answer.
Especially because you're a film school student. So you know how Stephanie has started this episode. She wants to become more popular. She's changing her image. She wants to, separate from her brother. She wants to basically change her overall vibe. New year, new look, new Stephanie K, basically. I want to know your prediction of where do you think Stephanie ends up at the end of the season? Where is she at?
That's a really good question. I don't think that she's going to keep the I don't think she's going to stay president. I think something's going to happen where because she's not, I don't think she's serious about it.
Mhm.
I think she got herself into, it seems like she got herself into something that she is not really prepared for. Like she kind of
Mhm.
thought it was going to be about popularity. So I think she's going to really focus on popularity and get into something that makes her lose her presidency. I think there will be something with a boy. I know, I guess one of the like quote unquote spoilers, I know that there's some attraction between her and Wheels, but I don't know
Ah.
if it manifests into anything
Mhm.
because I've never seen anything about like, oh, I ship Stephanie and Wheels, and that's kind of what I base things on. If I like, I don't, so I don't know if they actually end up doing anything, but I would assume she gets involved with a boy in some way,
Mhm.
and I would say she and Vula will not be friends. She's gonna fall in with some other friends, I think. I
Interesting.
think her and Vula are gonna take some time apart. That's my predictions for Stephanie
Interesting.
K.
I'm excited to see when you get to the end and see how you feel about what actually happens.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be like a big event that but I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm like, what to predict specifically, but she's gonna have one of those like big Degrassi moments, I think, within this
Absolutely.
season.
Okay, good to know. I was really curious about that of where you
Are
thought.
there any other characters?
No, with Stephanie being the central one, I think it's interesting to hear, where she starts and where she ends.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting to kind of do that for each episode and kind of talk about which
Yeah.
character, the character that the episode focused on. So listen next week to see what I think about whoever the main character is of next week's episode or next month's episode.
Was there any characters? I guess I think you maybe already asked that. I was gonna ask, is there any characters that you met that you just like had no idea existed at all?
Um, I would say the only character that was introduced in this episode that I didn't really have any context for at all was Susie.
Mhm.
I did not know that she was a character. Like I was like, okay, this like random girl that's talking to Steph. Like I really did not know that she was and did not expect, but I know kind of now that she pops up again at some point.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I didn't know if she was another Hank. Or she
Hank.
just only appears in this episode.
We gotta get Hank on that black hole list. That's why everybody keeps forgetting about him. What happened to Hank? Where's
he's so,
Hank?
he's so deep into the black hole that he doesn't even make the list anymore.
Didn't even make the
Blue
list.
Chessex just knocked him right off.
I will say, so fun fact about Yik Yu, the actor who played Yik, his name is still Yik. He actually worked as, I believe he was assistant director on Degrassi, The Next Generation. And there's a fun Easter egg when you're watching, oh, I'll never remember the episode. There's an episode where they're at the movie theater. Oh shoot, I'm blanking on what they do in it. There's an episode where they're at the movie theater and it starts on a movie poster and it's like this action movie poster and there's this like superhero in it or whatever. That is actually Yik Yu in the poster because he was working on the show at the time. So there's some fun little Easter eggs that you can find. But yeah, Yik
That's
Yu
cute.
was an assistant director. I'm pretty sure he was assistant director. Next
I
Generation.
also love Yik, and I'm really excited to see more of him because he's adorable. But I did not know
I
that.
agree.
That's really interesting. I love that it seems like Degrassi kids, Degrassi actors really seem to want to come back and keep working with Degrassi. That shows that it's a really good production to me and that it's a good place to be. Like how Stephen Brogren has worked on the show for decades and is just like synonymous with the show at this point.
That's when are you familiar with the series Degrassi Talks at all? Are you going to go through that at all?
I know I listened to your episode about it. So I know a decent amount about it. I would love to watch it. I would love to talk about it, but I don't know when within my watch would you isn't that related to Degrassi High?
Yeah, it would be after school's out. So the reason I mentioned that is because I think that is a perfect example of how like Linda, Schuyler, and Kidhood really invested in their Degrassi students. Is they had them actually
Yes.
go out and make a Degrassi series together, and they had a the company that they made this under is called Playing with Time, and they had a Playing with Time foundation where they actually invested in the Degrassi kids' education. And one of those things was Neil Hope wanted to learn more about filmmaking, and he actually made a movie that was funded by Linda, Schuyler, and Kid Hood about his father's alcohol addiction, which is so cool. So I think that's definitely why people have this connection, because it wasn't just like, hey, come to work, read these lines, go home. It was like, we really want to involve you in it. Even as far as having the kids give their input during read throughs to be like, would you say this, or how would you react, or what's your feelings about this? Oh, I think that's what makes Degrassi such an interesting show to watch, is how deep they go in making sure that they get it right.
I remember in Mother of All Degrassi, Linda talked about how one of the things that they would constantly want to cut was the read throughs. But and Linda was they were very adamant that that was important to get that extra time and get that extra time with the kids and time with the actors to make sure that it's right.
Exactly. So it makes us love Degrassi.
I love that. Didn't the actress who played Lucy, didn't she also direct an episode or two?
Yes.
In The Next Generation?
She directed
Don't Believe the Hype?
Yes, you got it. You know your facts. You know your facts. That's the episode about Hazel.
I'm a little Degrassi kid.
You're a little mini Degrassi kid. I love that. I will say, on your outline, one of my favorite questions that you had was, if you had to get a line tattooed on your body, what would it be from this episode?
Oh yeah, do you want to get into the questions?
I would love to. I love that question.
We can start with that one.
I want to hear your thoughts.
All right. Yeah, if you were to get a line from this episode tattooed on your body, what would it be?
Well,
this is a lightning round, so let's go ahead and start the lightning round.
Do you have an answer?
No pressure. The only thing I can think of is All the Way with Stephanie K.
I would 100% get that as a tattoo.
I don't know.
I
don't know if that would be creepy.
Not even just like from this episode, like in general, I'd be like, okay, if you told me to get a tattoo from Degrassi Junior High, that's probably one of them. In terms of like what is one of my favorite episodes, So Do Girls, So Do Best Friends. That really stuck with me because that was gay. But yeah,
that's just I'm in love with her and she's a girl, but in the 80s.
Exactly. I'm gonna
get that on my arms.
Also, my dad let me work on an 89 Chevy. I also love that. My dad let me work on an 89 Chevy. That's also iconic. Those are my favorite. But All the Way with Stephanie K. Oh, 100%. Put that on a t-shirt.
I will.
Retro Kid, put that on a t-shirt.
Oh, Retro Kid. Yeah. I was gonna say I will, but Retro Kid, you should definitely do that.
You should do that.
And I will buy the fuck out of it.
Hell yeah.
All right. So would you vote for Steph or Snake?
Here's the thing. I think that Vula made Stephanie sound really good. So I would probably vote for Stephanie. Also, I want to kiss.
Fair. Describe Joey Jeremiah in one word.
Playboy. Joey P. Jeremiah.
P
for Playboy.
I love his little. He's so
one of my favorite. I have a
Joey Jeremiah Esquire. Go ahead.
One of my favorite. I have a pin of this, and I love it so much. One of the quotes. Keep in mind, he's like a teenage virgin who's like doesn't kiss girls, like for the majority of it. And one of his quotes is, "Chicks are like aspirin. I take 2 and go to bed." I love that quote so much. Chicks are like aspirin. I take 2 and go to bed.
I love
Joey Jeremiah, 15-year-old virgin.
He just gives me the energy of somebody that has literally never kissed a girl, but is so cocky about it. And I love that.
Yeah. Love that too.
Speaking of nerds, which I think Joey Jeremiah is secretly,
join nerd
were
club.
You a nerd? Yeah.
Or
were you a nerd or were you a cool kid?
So here's a fun fact about me. I was in something called the IB program. Do you know what the IB program is? It's an international baccalaureate program.
Yeah, I knew it existed
IB kid?
For nerds.
Yes, exactly. Sam Earl was also in the IB program. We bonded over it once. But basically it was an accelerated learning program where you would like take university level classes in high school. So I went through that, graduated at the top of my class, got a bunch of credits because I was so nerdy. But
so you were a nerd.
I was a nerd, but you know what? I also think I was cool. And I get into conversations with this about my best friend because I had the same best friend from all the way from elementary school to high school. And she says we weren't cool. I thought we were cool. I thought we were really cool.
You might have been cool to yourself.
I was cool. I think I was nerdy. Like I think I definitely like was academically focused, but I also think it made me cool. Like I don't know, maybe that's just me. I think you can be both. Join Nerd Club on the Degrassi Kid Discord.
I think nerds think that being a nerd is cool.
That's fine. It is.
Valid.
Question for you. Were you a bully? Sounds like it.
No.
Well, I take offense to this question. I was a cool nerd.
That's an oxymoron.
I mean, look at me. I'm Degrassi's #1 fan. Like, that's nerdy, but it's cool, right?
No, you're the cool. I'm like bullying you, but I literally am obsessed with you.
You want to
So
be me. That's what I mean. I think you can be a cool nerd. I'm nerdy about Degrassi, but I'm like really cool. So I think I was both in high school too.
no, you're my favorite nerd, but you
Thank
are a
you.
nerd.
But a cool nerd.
I'm very cool and have always been very cool. So
Yeah.
that's my
I also
answer.
I think the way that you talk about yourself is very, very important. So I also think you're cool, and I think everybody should think that they're cool.
I agree.
Great. Great conversation. What's the next question? Riveting stuff.
Which would you rather which would you rather sing at karaoke? The Degrassi Junior High theme song or whatever it takes?
Okay.
Also, does the Degrassi Junior High theme song have a name or is it just
No, I think it's just Degrassi Junior High theme song. I think written by Wendy Watson.
Shout out?
So I have a couple thoughts about this. I know it's lightning round. Whatever it takes would probably get a bigger audience input.
This is not lightning.
But what? What'd you say?
I was just saying we've forgotten about the lightning round. It's okay.
Oh yeah,
We're just
not
talking.
super quick. Whatever it takes to probably get more of an audience reaction, but I think Degrassi Junior High would be more fun to sing. Wake up in the morning, feeling shy and lonely. Gee, I gotta go
I'm getting
to
into
school.
it. I think I might know all the words now.
Good.
Don't think I can make it. Don't think I can take it.
I
Wonder what I'm gonna
do.
do.
And then I look around and see. Yeah, I think that would be more fun. But whatever it takes to probably get a bigger reaction. I would actually rather sing Everybody Wants Something, to be honest with you, but that wasn't an option in
I
Lightning
don't know
Round.
that yet.
Well, you gotta know it.
I only know that from I only know it as a song that like slightly middle-aged, slightly sad men sing to talk about their glory days.
That's fair.
To be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing their glory days because
I can't wait until you hear the whole
as
song.
as a Next Generation fan, I will admit, Everybody Wants Something does not hit for me in the same way that I think it hits for a lot of people.
It will.
It's always been like kind of like a nerdy dad thing to me.
Don't you
So
love nerdy dads?
I'm excited. I do love nerdy dads.
See, I know the real you.
Sorry, I just had to pause and like think about nerdy dads for a minute.
Ned Flanders, Smash or Pass.
Smash.
See?
Um okay, my next questions are some would you rather questions.
Okay.
Would you rather be friends with Joey and Wheels or Arthur and Yick?
Ooh. Well, here's the thing. Joey and Wheels are gonna bully me. Well, Joey's gonna bully me. Arthur and Yick are gonna do cool stuff. They're cool. I'm gonna hang out with Arthur and Yick.
Again, reinforcing that you're a nerd, but that's okay. I would also hang out with Arthur and Yick.
I also spent a lot of junior high in the closet, just like they did. But that was supposed to be funny, and then you didn't laugh.
No, I made a face, and
Yeah,
that's
okay.
not good for podcasting. I made a face, and I'm considering if they do not have gay energy. Unfortunately, I wish they
No,
did.
but they were shoved in a closet.
They
They were shoved in a closet.
They
That was the
were,
joke.
but I wanted to act like that was like a sign. If it was
That's true.
If Vula and Steph got locked in a closet,
They would kiss.
I would have a 10-page essay. I would have a 10-page essay about what it means. I'd be like, that is literally a metaphor.
Symbolic.
For
Like when Holly J got locked in the closet by Fiona.
By Fiona. That's
gay.
Lesbianism. But for Yick
You're
and
right.
Arthur, they're just guys. They're just guys being dudes.
They're just dudes hanging out in a closet, not kissing each other.
They're just two bros chilling in a hot tub, 5 feet apart because they're not gay. Would you rather win favor? Would you rather win favor by giving out kisses or by playing a song in front of your entire class?
Well, here's the thing. I love kisses, so I also benefit. So kisses.
Same.
Easiest question you've asked me.
Would you rather? I know. I knew what your answer was going to be, but I still
Would
thought
you
it was
rather
cute
kiss
to
or
ask.
play the guitar? I'd rather kiss in any context.
Some people have different. Some people don't like kisses. Me, however,
don't have them on your podcast. Yeah. And
yeah,
let's end.
I cannot
end every
relate, and I
podcast
don't.
do with a kiss.
If you don't like
kisses, get the fuck out of here.
Oh,
Get
I
the
thought
fuck
you
out of
meant,
my
like, just
broom
kiss the
closet.
mic softly.
This is Kissing Corner with Jocelyn and Eevee.
All right.
Let's play Vula and Stephanie.
Would you? Oh, that.
Okay.
I'm in love with you and you're a girl.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay.
So do girls.
Would you
So do
rather
best
be the
friends.
so do girlfriends. Would you rather be the speechwriter or the face of the election?
Well, you know what? I would rather be the face of the election, and I would rather have you be my speechwriter.
That is, yeah. That's basically our dynamic.
That's basically what happens. I'm like, hey, can you make me a promo
That's-
for this? You're like, yeah, I got it. Can you make me an edit for this? You're like, yeah, I got it.
you.
So I would like that. I would like to be
Vula,
the Stephanie Vula.
Vula putting little posters up with like Stephanie's name and little hearts. That is me commenting on all of your posts
100%
all the time and
You're
promoting you
Vula.
all the time. I am your Vula and I am 100% okay with that.
And I love being your Stephanie. So
I know. You don't have a Joey.
Nicholas is our Joey.
Yes, Nicholas is our Joey.
Nicholas is our Joey.
Shout out to Nicholas.
Shout out to Nicholas. He's a moderator for the Degrassi Kid Discord.
He is, just no context. Shout out to Nicholas. Nobody gets to know who that is.
I like to call him Nicholas. This is for Nicholas.
Nicholas.
He's not even gonna listen to this.
He'll be like, he will. He loves us.
He will. He does.
Okay, I have a couple more questions, and then I feel like we can start to wrap up because we've had a really good conversation. A really good.
I have to do a rap.
You do. All right. You can pick from Hamilton. You can do like Tupac, whatever you want, whatever your vibe is. Go ahead.
Hey, you got it. The year's 94.
Are you ready?
No. Okay, let's not even go into that.
Okay, these are personal questions. These are personal questions.
I am a homosexual.
We know. That was not what I was going to ask, but I appreciate you providing that context.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Which character do you identify with or relate to the most from this episode and why?
LD, because she said, my dad let me work on an 89 Chevy. And that's the gayest thing I've ever heard. So LD. She gave off really gay vibes and I gave off really gay vibes in junior high school, which is why it was so cool.
Is there anything from this episode that has happened to you?
Good question. My dad let me work on an 89 Chevy. No, I'm just joking. Is there anything in this episode that's happened to me? Nothing stands out. Nothing stands out that I'm like, hey, I went through that experience.
You were locked in the
I was
closet.
like crush on my best friend.
Same.
I was never locked in the closet. I was stuck in there, but I was never locked. The door was open. I could have left anytime.
You just didn't know how until Fiona Coin showed you.
Yeah, exactly.
Fiona Coin was like, bitch, there's the door.
Opened it. I love her so much. Shout out to Annie Clark.
Shout out to Annie Clark. Shout out to Annie Clark. That just sounded so unenthusiastic. Shout out to Annie Clark.
Annie Clark. Thanks, Annie. Shout out to Annie Clark. Okay. We're getting so off track here.
I know. Would you be embarrassed to admit that your sibling is related to you at school?
That's a good question. What's interesting is my sibling, I do have a younger sibling, but he actually went to different schools than me. So I've never been confronted with this. I don't think I would be embarrassed. Like, I do know that he struggled a little bit because I was so smart. Not to say he isn't smart, but I was going through programs for smart kids. And I know that he definitely, I think the reason he went to different schools, I think he made this decision that he was too embarrassed to admit he was related to me, because I think we went to the same elementary school, and I think he struggled with being my little brother because the expectations were like, oh, you have to be like the top of the class. And he was a smart kid. He just wasn't like, I would like spend hours and hours and hours working on projects where he would just like do them, right? So I don't think I would be embarrassed to admit that I was related to him, but I think ultimately he expressed that he was embarrassed to be related to me.
That's actually really interesting. I'm curious if there was ever something on Degrassi where that kind of dynamic was explored that you can think of, where the younger sibling, well, I guess Holly J. Sinclair with Heather a little bit felt like they were in their sibling's shadow. And that's why Holly J went to Lakehurst. Your brother is literally Holly J. Sinclair, and you're literally Heather Sinclair.
My brother is Holly J. Sinclair. Here I am. I've been brunette this whole time. Oh, I have a fun fact to share about Heather Sinclair.
Absolutely. Go
ahead.
You know
how in this episode, the principal is doing the announcements. He's doing a very good job. He's like, Susie Rivera has been elected. So that is Principal Lawrence, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, but we never see him. We never see him. We only ever hear him through the announcements. We never
I
meet
do
him.
know this fact. I know this fact, so you're
Okay.
not spoiling it.
Okay, great. Principal Lawrence, we never see him. He's also played by a writer on the show. But the fact that I wanted to tell you is that later, whenever they make Degrassi The Next Generation and they come up with Heather Sinclair, that is inspired by Principal Lawrence, this character that we never see. And the reason we never see Principal Lawrence is because to kids, your teachers are hardly people. Your principal is not a person. He is a guy that sits in an office that like you may have to see once a year. Most students never see them in their entire lives. And similar to, that's also what makes the school bully scary is it to the audience is that she's never around and we never actually get to see her. So that is kind of the origin story of Heather Sinclair and Heather Poulette later on, which means chicken in French, by the way. That is the origin story of these faceless characters that are scary that we never see.
I did not actually know the context that Heather Sinclair was kind of meant to be like the mean girl that I mean I obviously knew that, but I didn't know that that was kind of the and no, I didn't mean that that was
Heather
like I
Sinclair's
mean that
mean?
no, I meant like I didn't know that that was the intention of like the mean girl that you
Mm.
never see like in this I just thought it was a silly little joke. That's cool. That it was
Yeah.
actually kind of
Kind of
meant
like,
to represent something.
well, you know how like the movie Jaws, how you never see the monster and it makes it scarier? That's Heather
Yeah, I
Sinclair.
never thought about it like that. I
Yeah.
really just thought it was supposed to be like
Heather
a silly
Sinclair's
little
mean.
goof. No.
And
Wait, she's
Terry's
a
actually
bully?
the first one who ever brings her up. Yeah, I thought she was I really sympathize with that character.
Yeah, that's literally my favorite character.
I will say, if I were to ever write an episode about Degrassi, I would want to write it from Heather's point of view.
Yes,
And
we talked
I
about
actually
this.
think, New Year, New Look, New Page. I think the transition of Paige transitioning her look may have had something to do with her relationship falling out with Heather. I know this is me just like making this up as a fan, but
No,
I think
I
it's kind of
love
similar.
that.
In Lizzie McGuire, how Lizzie and her bully were like best friends, and then something happened and they became enemies.
Kate,
That is what I
yes.
think the origin story of Paige and Heather is, and I want to write that as a script.
I want to help you write that as a script. That
Okay, that's
sounds
our next
I love
project.
that. Yeah. All right.
I'll add
So
it to the
the
Degrassi
Heather
Kid project.
Sinclair Untitled Heather Sinclair Oof. The Untitled Heather Sinclair project coming soon.
Yeah,
Jocelyn and Eevee.
the
Copyright
Degrassi Kid network
pending.
near you.
Patent pending.
Yeah, please don't take my idea. Please don't. It's okay if you do.
Mm.
But please don't, or just help me with it. But we're both
Yeah,
screenwriters. We both went to film school.
that's right. We both know how to write a script, so we just have a
Yeah.
lot going on. So don't steal our idea because you would probably finish it before we do.
Yeah, probably
We've
take a
got a
long
lot going
time.
on.
Well, Evie, I have to tell you, this has been really fun, and I'm excited to see who else you have on your podcast and what episodes you explore and what's
I'm
upcoming
ve-
next for you. I'm very, very
I'm
excited about
very
it.
excited. I feel like this has been a really great conversation, and like I said, I felt like you were the perfect first guest for this. Not only
I am
because of your
perfect.
Degrassi fandom, you are perfect just as a person, but you are also my best friend, and it is very easy to talk to you, and it's very great to kind of feel out this like podcast format with somebody who makes me feel so comfortable and safe. I appreciate it.
I love that. No problem. I'm
I
excited
was a
to see
nerd.
how it. Go ahead. Go
Go
say.
ahead. No, I was a
I'm
nervous wreck when
excited
we
to
started
see.
this. Did you do that on purpose?
No, it's okay. No, I think there's a little bit of a lag between us. You go ahead. You were a nervous wreck when we started to say that.
No, I was a nervous wreck when I started this, and now I'm calmed down. Talking to you has really um helped, and I'm really looking forward to recording future episodes. I feel like you have definitely helped ease my mind a little bit in regards to this whole intimidating podcast thing. So I appreciate that.
You got this. Linda Schuyler wrote down your podcast title. Like you're fine. You've already got the seal of approval. Like you've got everything that I took
Clever,
a year to accomplish.
a clever name though is not does not seal the deal. I gotta do the work too, and I think
Yeah, I
I
believe
think
in
I'm
you.
doing it. I think we're doing it. We're doing it, and
Yeah,
I
my
have you to help
biggest
me.
piece of advice for you is to just do it because here's the thing. This you're going to look back at this episode and be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I used to make my podcast that way. I can't believe I didn't edit that out or didn't do this." Every single episode you will learn more about making a podcast, and the only way you can do that is if you keep making it. I say as someone who hasn't released an episode in like 8 weeks, but the more you do it, the more you'll learn. So even if you go through editing this episode and you're like, oh, like I wish I did this differently, post it. And then the next episode, take that idea and run with it. Listen, we all love you and we want to help you succeed and watch you grow. And the only way to do that is to try. So I believe in you.
I really appreciate that. I'm really thankful for you, and I'm very excited to keep this going. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for being my first guest on Degrassi Schools In. You are amazing. Do you want to plug your I mean, most of the people listening to this probably already follow you on social media, but do you want to just go ahead and plug your social media? Talk a little bit about where to find you.
I'm Degrassi Kid.
Hello. That's it.
You know what? I mostly just want people to be excited about the Patreon. Degrassi Kid Patreon, where you can listen to Degrassi Schools In first, and just to keep an eye on the Degrassi Kid Discord, because some cool stuff happens there. But ultimately, I am very, very happy that I am in a place where people want to hear me talk about Degrassi, and that I get to come on and do these kind of cool projects. So I appreciate you for letting me do this, and I can't wait until you get to Schools Out.
Absolutely, I'm really excited. It's going to take some time, but it's going to be a really exciting journey to get there. So I am also very excited. I definitely recommend people check out Jocelyn's Patreon and their podcast and all of their content. If you love Degrassi, you're going to love them. So
I love
that. And I help Jocelyn with a lot of their stuff. So yeah, it's a group. We're all a community here, and we love helping each other out. And we would love
We're just a couple Degrassi kids.
Exactly. We are all just Degrassi kids here.
You can find me on the Degrassi Kid Discord. You can find me on the Degrassi Kid Patreon, and you can find me on Instagram. I love being on Instagram and sharing little stories. One of the things that you'll be seeing on my Instagram story and Eevee's Instagram story is Eevee and I are going to Toronto together to explore Toronto, and we're bringing a bunch of Degrassi fans with us, and we're going to go to Degrassi Street, Degrassi Junior High. So we're going to try to get to the set of Degrassi The Next Generation, and it's going to be really, really fun. So you have to follow the both of us for that.
As Jocelyn previously mentioned, we're going to check out the archives, which I'm really excited for. We're going to see some amazing pieces of Degrassi history.
You're going to see the original scripts.
I'm so excited. Yeah, we started looking at the list of what they have, and it is insane. And I really need to catch up on Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High and all of that, so I know what I'm looking at, because there's so much valuable, so many valuable pieces of Degrassi history that I don't have context for yet, and I want to know what the hell I'm talking about and what I'm looking at when I get there. So I'm really excited to go to Toronto in November. I'm so excited, and we're gonna meet for the first time.
We're gonna meet in real life. We're gonna hug, be best friends.
We've been online friends for so long. Now we're gonna be real life best friends.
Now we're gonna meet in real life. I'm very, very excited. I'm excited to look back on this moment and be like, wow, that first episode felt so long ago, and now we've come so far. So I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to see what's next for you.
I'm very excited to see what's next too, and I'm really glad that you're on this journey with me. You are awesome, Jocelyn. I love you. I am looking forward to I am really looking forward to having you on the podcast again. I don't know exactly when you're going to come back on. Is there a specific episode that you had in mind that you wanted to possibly come back for, or do we want to talk about that later?
I would love to come back for the gay episode.
I don't know what the gay episode is. So is there actually oh no, there is a gay episode. I know kind of about that.
Which gay episode do you think I'm talking about?
Lesbian. Yeah. I only know about that because of the soundboard. Literally only because of the soundboard from the Discord, because we constantly spam each other with lesbian in our
every time I join.
Calls.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. But that one is like your 4th episode. That one is coming up very soon, so we'll give some other people some time. But yeah, anytime there's a gay person on your show, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, and I will definitely be like calling on you for some facts and stuff like that. Because I don't want to go.
I got facts.
I don't want to go too deep into like the Degrassi wiki and stuff like that, because I don't want to get spoiled. So Jocelyn will be providing some facts for me in the future, and I will also rely on my guests to kind of.
You can do a little segment called Degrassi Kid Facts, and you can read your text messages for me and me being like, yeah. Hey everybody, it's Degrassi Kid here, and this is your weekly fun fact about this episode of Degrassi.
I'll just play a little.
Do you know that Principal Lawrence? Yeah.
Just have you record a little recording. Just played it.
Do you want to know about the history of Broomhead? Get out your phone books, because it's Degrassi Kid fact time.
What was okay, before we like completely wrap it up again, what was the thing that Arthur and Joey, not Arthur and Joey, Arthur and Yick called Joey?
Gorgle.
I was about to say like
I have
Womple or
no further
something.
information. Gorgle.
Okay, well that's gonna be part of the outro. So I'm gonna call my listeners Gorgles. Um, is there anything
I
else
would
that you
love to
want to
be a
say?
Gorgle.
You are my Gorgle.
Is there anything else that I want to say to your listeners of Degrassi Schools In?
Yeah. Or to me,
Thank
or
you.
to the world.
I want to tell the listeners, I want to say thank you for supporting my best friend in something that they're very passionate about. That's all.
That's all. Gay. Gay.
Lesbian, lesbian, lesbian. That's too early.
Okay.
All the way with Stephanie K. All the way with
All
Stephanie
the way
K.
with Stephanie K. Okay, I think that about does it. Thank you so much for listening to Degrassi Schools In. I'm very excited to talk to you guys next month with a special guest about Big Dance, where Vula's dad will not let her go to the big dance. Bye, Panthers.
Bye, Panthers.